Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining for this live Q&A time. And honestly, we want to talk about things. We want to talk about what's going on in your life and what we should be thinking about with this stuff. So we're going to dig right in here. Encourage you, write in your questions on the live, and we'll try and get to them. Otherwise, people have sent questions through other videos, and so I wanted to get into them. So we'll start there. To start with, we have Chris, and Chris writes in and says, Randall, I have a question. Why is science the same the world over, but religion differ? Okay, great question, Chris. Thank you so much for asking. Let's actually think about this. Let's look through this. First off, the second part of your question, religion differs all over the world. Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you, Chris, that all over the world, we have lots of different concepts and ideas for religion. And we have different main huge groups, Muslim, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism. There's a lot of different, I don't even have the number of major world religions. And then each of those, they break down. I mean, the major big ones in Muslim is Sunni and Shiite. Have a a buddy I met, his name, he goes by Muhammad Ali. His name is longer, but that's the beginning of his name, Muhammad Ali. And here in the States, he is really popular with that name. But a Shiite man, and he was sharing with me all the different groups and the sects of of Muslim. Very interesting. In Christianity, we have tons of different groups, from Baptist to Charismatic to Catholic to all these different groups, even differing in the Christian. So to answer your part of the question, I guess, Chris, are there differences in religion all over the world? Hands down, yes. But now the first part of your question, science. Is science the same the world over? Well, here's the thing. I would agree and disagree with you. First off, I would agree, yes, science is the same the world over. But scientists are different the world over. And that's the major thing. So science is just looking at the world around us, observing, experimenting, theorizing, coming up with things. And that concept is the same no matter where you go. But it's scientists who interpret the data. Scientists interpret and say, oh, this is what this is meaning. This is what that is meaning. And over the years, we can definitely see huge differences where scientists interpret, when I was a kid, the universe was only like 30 million years old. A couple years ago, it was like 10 billion years old. Just recently, I read a report. Scientists are saying it's more than 30 billion years old. Science interpretation of the scientific data changes all the time. So scientists change all the time. Not long ago, scientists said that the universe was eternal. Then around came Albert Einstein and a couple other people that through science, through observable science, through investigation, they actually found that no, that's not true. The universe had a beginning where space, time, and matter all came into existence at the same exact point, which meant someone outside of space, time, and matter had to put them into being at that point. That was very difficult for Einstein because he believed that the universe created itself. So he called it an unfortunate fact. Now, here's one. We've talked about these subjects before. Here's one that we haven't talked about is we have energy in our universe that is slowly winding down. So picture if you came into a room and you saw a wind up, those wind up little toys that kind of run around across the floor. If you walked into a room, no one else was there, and there was on the floor one of those wind up toys, and it was moving. It was moving. You would immediately know one thing. You would immediately know that someone started this toy. Someone was there. And you would start to look around. Where is the person who started it? If there is no one in the room, you would probably go outside the room to look and see where the person was who started it. That's what I would encourage you to do, Chris, and anyone else watching, is that it's obvious the universe has been wound up, has been given energy. So start to look. Look in the room first. Is there any way that the room, the universe itself, can make energy? We see through observable science, it says no. Therefore, we need to go outside the room. Is there someone outside the universe, something outside the universe that could have given it energy? Well, yeah. And I call him God. Maybe you call him something different, and we can go further into that at some point. But the point is, observable science would tell us that someone outside the universe created space, time, and matter. It's interesting, Chris, that most of the people here on Earth look to and think of something. We mentioned religion here. Look at the universe look at there being a God. Most of the creation does. Most of the people do. Why? Most of the different world histories they record a flood narrative. When this large flood wiped out the entire world. Why do most people speak of that? Well, maybe it's because it actually happened. Well, now you might say, wait a minute, Randall. I've studied some of these. They all talk about it differently. Well, an interesting one is the Titanic. Now, the Titanic, if you look at people who have observed it because they were there, and then they reported it differently. Some say the boat went straight down. Others say it went up like this, and there's different reports. But all the reports have one thing in common. They all say the Titanic sank. We know this. We know the truth is the Titanic sank. Observable science, historical observation would say, yes, we should all agree with that. They might have different versions. You come into a crime scene. Maybe someone has gotten murdered, and maybe there were a couple witnesses. And some will say that he had 2 guns. Others will say he had 1. Some will say he had a red shirt. Others will say he has a blue shirt. But the point is, everybody agrees he shot a gun at that other man, and the other man is dead. So we need to go through our facts and actually look at why, where, and try to discover the truth. The truth that I have found through much study and observation is that there is an overwhelming amount of data and facts that point to there being a creator God. Overwhelming. I would have to have more faith to be an atheist than to be a theist. See, an atheist believes that nothing created everything. A theist believes that something created everything. Which is more logically possible? Which makes more sense? I would say overwhelmingly it's more logical for something to create everything than nothing. And that would take a lot more faith for me to be an atheist than for me to be a theist. I've also seen through observable historical facts as I dig in through that Christianity is real, that Jesus was a real man. Majority of historians believe that and agree with that. And most believe he died on a cross. Now, even interesting fact, even the enemies of Christianity believe that people immediately after his death looked to Jesus as deity. Pliny the Younger, he's asking his uncle, what should I do? How can I kill him? They meet on a stated day. Here's their issues. They meet on a stated day. They look to Jesus as deity. What should we do with him? He was scared for his own authority, his own power. When we look at the fact that Jesus, all of Jesus' early followers that saw him die were willing to give their life. Now, people will give their life sometimes for a lie that they believe is true. But nobody will give their life for a lie that they know is a lie. The early followers, 500 of them, actually saw the risen Jesus Christ, and they were willing to give their life for what they saw was true. Observable. That's actually scientific. Observable. Science is always observable.